Hello humans, soap cutting videos are absurd but aggressively addictive. That is exactly why I'm going to explain why they work, and yes, there will be soap in the corner because apparently this is our life now. So here is the answer immediately. These videos work because your brain gets fed in two places at once. One half watches the story, the other half gets hypnotized by soap. That is the whole trick. One side gives you meaning, the other side gives you sensory dopamine. So what looks like brain rot is actually a very efficient little attention trap. And this is not even some brand new internet accident. This format started getting real mainstream attention back in the late 2010s, and somehow it is still alive. Now, here is the filthy little secret. The soap is not the main event. The soap is support staff. It is emotional background labor. It is the tiny, unpaid intern holding your broken attention span together while the real video tries to do its job. Because sometimes the main video has a pause, sometimes a sentence runs too long, sometimes the story slows down for 3 seconds, and your modern internet brain immediately starts filing for divorce. And that is where the soap steps in like a smooth little sensory nurse. The cutting, the texture, the rhythm, the neat little visual destruction. All of it keeps your brain from wandering off. It lowers friction, it fills dead air, it gives your eyes something easy, clean, and satisfying to chew on while you process the content. Soap is not random decoration, it is retention padding, it is attention bubble wrap. This format isn't random, it's engineered. Addiction here doesn't come from depth, it comes from layering. The top video gives you information, drama, or an internet opinion delivered with way too much confidence. The bottom video gives you texture, rhythm, and the primitive joy of watching a knife turn soap into tiny cubes. Your brain loves this combo. One part is mentally occupied, the other is visually soothed. Instead of one hook, you get two working together like a manipulative little duo. It's a mini buffet for an attention span that can't survive on one flavor. Story for the thinking part, soap for the raccoon part. It feels stupid because it is, but it's effective. The internet didn't stumble on this. It discovered your brain is easier to keep if you distract it while feeding it. Honestly, I have no idea why this works, but let's pretend I'm qualified to explain it. Soap is the perfect side quest for a tired internet brain. It's clean, colorful, and weirdly obedient. Press a knife into it, and it immediately becomes content. No backstory, no trauma dump. No screaming thumbnail faces, just smooth lines, clean slices, and the suspicious pleasure of watching order created by destroying something nice. Soap gives your brain a predictable reward loop. Cut, crunch, slice, repeat. In an internet full of chaos and fake urgency, the soap just sits there and behaves. It doesn't argue. It doesn't need context. It doesn't suddenly pivot into a crypto ad. It's the perfect visual side quest because your brain wants something calm and controllable while the rest of the world has a public breakdown. Here's the less flattering part. This format exists because your attention span is fighting for its life. Mine too. Ours is not special. The modern brain has been trained like a confused little lab rat to expect constant stimulation and absolutely no silence longer than 3 seconds. So one video alone is no longer enough. That is the problem, or the business model. The main video is trying to tell a story, but the soap is there as a backup generator in case your brain starts wandering toward the exit. It is attention support scaffolding, the internet quietly admitting, we no longer trust you to sit with one stimulus. And the brutal part? It is not even wrong. It exists because something is clearly struggling to breathe. And now we arrive at the honest diagnosis. This looks like brain rot, because on some level, it absolutely is. But it is engineered brain rot, optimized brain rot, premium retention grade slop with a clean-cut finish. Nobody accidentally woke up and said, you know what would improve this video essay? A knife attacking a lavender rectangle underneath it? The internet moved toward this on purpose because the numbers probably smiled. More watch time, fewer swipes, slightly more captive eyeballs, which means the whole format is less like art and more like attention engineering wearing a silly little costume. That is why it feels so effective. You are watching content admit that it does not fully trust its own content, so it brings backup, a visual pacifier for your nervous system. And yes, that is bleak, but it is also kind of genius in the most spiritually cheap way possible. And this is where it gets deeper. I'd prefer soap videos remain spiritually unserious, but here we are. You're not just watching soap, you're watching control. Every cut does exactly what it's supposed to do. The knife goes in, the line appears, the chunk falls away. Simple. No breaking news, no fake apologies, no podcast bro explaining masculinity. The soap just behaves. Because the internet is chaos, noise, urgency, false alarms, fake depth. But the soap? It's honest. It gets cut and it stays cut. That is the whole deal. In a world of noise, that predictable ritual is calming. It gives your brain a controlled outcome. Maybe they're not just watching because it's satisfying. Maybe they're watching because for 10 seconds, something in the frame finally behaves like the universe signed a contract. And of course, the algorithm sees this little freak show and immediately starts salivating, because the algorithm does not care whether your content is noble, healthy, intelligent, or a minor cry for help. It cares whether you stayed. That is the whole romance. If putting soap under a video makes you stay 3 seconds longer, that is already enough for the machine to lean forward like, interesting, because now the content is doing 2 jobs at once. The top video is trying to earn your attention. The bottom video is trying to prevent your escape. Beautiful teamwork. Corporate synergy. A tiny, hostile merger against your free will. And from the platform's point of view, that is fantastic. More watch time, fewer swipes, more moments where your nervous system gets quietly held hostage by smooth lavender cubes. So the soap wins, the uploader wins, the platform wins, and your attention span loses another small legal battle. That is why these formats spread. Not because someone at headquarters said, "Bring me the soap videos," but because the numbers probably smiled in a way that made everyone deeply irresponsible. And once the numbers smile, the internet starts breeding the format like a raccoon discovered a printer. So the soap is not some random side joke. It is a symptom. The internet is becoming more fully itself. Because the modern feed is always evolving toward denser stimulation. First one video was enough, then subtitles, then fast cuts. Then gameplay under commentary, then reaction faces, then split screens. 3 layers of nonsense competing inside one rectangle. Soap fits perfectly into that evolutionary disaster. It is the logical next step in a system that keeps asking one question: how much stimulus can we fit into one frame before the viewer feels either captivated or legally dead? And every year the answer seems to be, unfortunately, more. More density, more overlap, more backup stimulation. The internet isn't optimizing for clarity or peace. It is optimizing for layered attention capture. Soap just happens to be one of the cleanest, dumbest, and most honest ways to see that happening in public. Welcome to the future. It's dense. So here's the verdict. Soap cutting under a video works because it feeds 2 brain weaknesses at once. One side wants the drama and story, the shiny human nonsense. The other side? It just wants rhythm, texture, and the lizard brain relief of a knife cleanly slicing soap. Put them together, and the format becomes a deeply unserious machine for holding attention. It's not random, it's engineered. And my skeleton opinion? This logic isn't dead. The internet learned that if one stimulus works, 2 work better. It's just a sensory parasite mutating into new shapes. We're watching the internet figure out how to feed a brain that no longer trusts one thing at a time. Subscribe, please. I'm literally working after death.